Imagine a corner of the earth that for centuries has been revered as something incredibly sacred, ancient, and untouchable, where even the idea of a hidden mystery beneath its surface, capable of overturning human history, seemed utterly unreal. However, that's exactly the case with Jerusalem's Temple Mount, this majestic limestone platform where the paths of three global religions converge and where, as it turns out, beneath layers of stone and dust accumulated over millennia, lies something that people dared not even fantasize about. Until recently, its foundations were considered absolutely inaccessible, but an accidental incident that happened about 20 years ago slightly lifted the veil over a secret that had remained buried under the strata of history for centuries. What scientists found beneath the ancient foundations of the Temple Mount not only echoes ancient legends, but could also shake the entire world, forcing people to look anew at the past, at faith, and even at science. The discovery was kept in the strictest secrecy for months, but now information about it is gradually starting to leak out, and it truly blows the mind. Prepare to learn about treasures hidden beneath centuries of prayers, battles, destructions, and revivals, about forgotten underground corridors and inscriptions testifying to the most divine presence. The old city of Jerusalem rises above the hills like a crown of stone, but among all its structures, not in height but in significance, the Temple Mount reigns supreme. Haram al-Sharif in Arabic and Har HaBayit in Hebrew. This ancient platform, shrouded in myths, is considered one of the most sacred, controversial, and mysterious pieces of land on the planet. For Jews, it is the highest sanctuary, the place where nearly 3,000 years ago King Solomon built the first temple, where, according to legends, the Ark of the Covenant was kept under the guard of golden cherubim, filled with the divine presence itself. Later, after the Babylonian captivity, the Second Temple arose in the same place, destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. For Muslims, it is part of the Noble Mosque complex, the place from which the Prophet Muhammad made his night journey to the heavens. The Dome of the Rock, built in the 7th century, still shines in the center of the plateau and was once the first Qibla of Islam. For Christians, the Temple Mount is sacred due to its connection with the life of Jesus, for example, when he overturned the tables of the money changers in the temple courts, demanding that the house of prayer not be turned into a den of thieves. But behind all the visible structures lies a much more ancient and profound history. It is sealed in layers of stone, in secrets hidden under the thickness of centuries and wars, which scholars have dreamed of uncovering for centuries. Empires succeeded one another. The Persians, who allowed the Jews to restore the temple, the Greeks, who desecrated this place, the Romans, who destroyed the Second Temple, the Byzantines, who erected churches, the Umayyads, who built the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Crusaders, Ottomans, British, all left their mark on the Mount. And yet, through all the changes, one idea persisted. This place is not just a sanctuary, but a point of contact between heaven and earth where, according to legends, the Shekinah dwelt, the divine presence, the Spirit of God, once abiding between the wings of the golden cherubim inside the Holy of Holies. Despite its spiritual significance, the Temple Mount remained practically unexplored beneath the surface. Tensions between religions and politics made any excavations impossible. Rare attempts, like the bold and risky explorations of the British engineer Charles Warren in the 19th century, provided only vague hints: rooms hewn in the rock, channels, voids. But after his reports, access was closed, and the idea of excavations became unthinkable. One wrong move could provoke a global conflict. This continued until the late 1990s, when, during illegal construction work from the Temple Mount territory, hundreds of trucks of earth were removed and dumped into the Kidron Valley beyond the walls of the old city. In an instant, thousands of years of history were thrown out like garbage. And yet, a group of Israeli archaeologists saw an opportunity in what others considered a loss. In 2004, the Temple Mount Sifting Project began, an unusual archaeological initiative in which volunteers manually sifted through every clump of earth for years. The results stunned everyone. Over 500,000 artifacts, coins from Herod, arrowheads from the Crusaders, Islamic ornaments, and numerous items from the First Temple era, long considered almost mythical. Among the most astonishing finds were bullae, clay seals once used to seal documents. One of them bore the name Galiahu, son of Immer, linked to the priestly family mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. Others appeared, with names, titles, and symbols, a menorah, temple gates, priestly garments. They also discovered a carved ivory comb with the oldest known Canaanite inscription concerning personal hygiene and, likely, ritual purity. Among the finds were bronze censers and jewels lost in the chaos of wars or exiles. Combined with artifacts from the Roman, Byzantine, and Islamic periods, all this demonstrated the continuity of the site's sanctity across generations. But the layer from the First Temple was especially valuable. It hinted that something much more ancient and significant lies beneath the mount. By the early 2020s, a new team of researchers combined old British maps from the Mandate period and modern methods, ground-penetrating radar used to search for hidden chambers in Egyptian pyramids. In the southern part of the mount, linear forms were detected that nature could not have created, and when compared with maps from the early 20th century, it became clear that these were the very mysterious voids, corridors, and staircases long rumored about. Since excavations under the platform itself were prohibited, work was conducted in permitted areas near the western wall. Here, a filled-in staircase was found leading to a Byzantine antechamber with traces of crosses and inscriptions, but beneath its floor lay massive, perfectly dressed stones, similar in technique to the Megiddo gates from Solomon's time. Analysis confirmed. This foundation is centuries older than Herod's reconstruction, and is located exactly where, according to ancient texts, the inner zones of the temple might have been. Even deeper descended a second staircase, deliberately blocked by people in antiquity. This indicated an attempt to hide something extraordinarily important. The water system beneath this area was the next shock. A network of cisterns, channels, aqueducts dating to the 6th to 7th centuries BCE was so complex that it was ahead of its time. It regulated pressure, prevented water stagnation, was fed by narrow tunnels, and had overflow channels. Overlaying the cistern map onto ancient texts, researchers saw coincidences. Some points matched descriptions of Hezekiah's works and even earlier kings. One of the large reservoirs was under the presumed location of the altar, its walls covered with ash and organic remains. This was not just technology, but meticulously organized sacred engineering. Finally, the aqueducts led the team to an area inaccessible for over 1,000 years. Beyond a sealed stone threshold, they discovered a small, round chamber, its walls hewn from the rock. In the center, a shallow stone basin half filled with ash, surrounded by blackened lamps and traces of incense from the First Temple period. The entire space was untouched, It had been sealed deliberately so that no one would ever enter again. On the edge of the basin was an inscription in Paleo-Hebrew. "He who dwells here, his spirit never departs." This phrase literally echoed descriptions of the Holy of Holies, the inner chamber where the Shekinah resided and where the high priest entered only once a year. The dating of the lamps, ash, structure, and script style fully matched the First Temple era. This turned out to be the first material object correlating precisely with that space long considered unattainable and possibly legendary. The world's reaction was complex. Scholars were stunned, religious leaders alarmed, politicians cautious. Some saw confirmation of ancient texts, others a threat to religious equilibrium. Now, researchers are advancing to non-invasive methods such as muon tomography to try to detect other hidden chambers. Scholars are re-examining texts, studying old maps, discussing international projects. The Temple Mount remains a fragile and politically sensitive place, access limited, but one thing has become evident. For the first time, humanity has peered inside the sanctuary hidden under layers of time and seen what for centuries was considered unreachable, the very core of ancient faith. If needed, I can make an alternative rewrite version more artistic, more scientific, more neutral, or more emotional. Friends, share in the comments. What do you think about this story? If the video was interesting, support us with a like and subscription to the channel. Until next time.